We're going to finish with some AOB, which is a regular feature. We haven't done it for the last couple of weeks because of holidays and breaks and things. But we are going to look at our featured director of the week. And this week's featured director is Tim Burton. And we've each selected one of his films just to talk about briefly and why we think it's one of his best films. So let's start with you, Emma. What did you pick from Tim Burton's list?
So I picked Beetlejuice.
You don't have to kill anybody.
Possession. Good. Learn to throw your voice. Fool your friends. Fun and party.
You know, it's one of those films. I know I have watched it pretty much constantly for my entire life, and I really genuinely wish I could remember the first time I watched it, because every rewatch is like the practical effects. It just brings a smile to my face. Michael Keaton is amazing, and I absolutely love Winona Ryder as Lydia, and her very dark outlook on life, compared to Adam and Barbara, obviously, who are very much more flowery and light-spirited. Pardon pun. I just adore it. It's so funny. It's got great musical bits. I just love the fact that because there wasn't enough budget really for anything, that was like $1 million, I think, for the visual effects, that he like leaned really hard into the B movie sort of, over the topness of it. And I just think that was fantastic. And just when you hear all the little fun facts about having to film some of it backwards so that the shots worked, and just brings a smile to my face every time I watch it.
That's 1988, wasn't it, Beetlejuice? There was a Beetlejuice 2 made in 2014, and it looks like there's a Beetlejuice. Oh, there's another Beetlejuice 2. Why are there two
the trailer's
films?
out for the new one.
Yeah, the new one out next year, isn't it? Yeah.
It's quite fun.
I suppose Michael Keaton isn't in it. Jenna Ortega. Oh, he is. Michael Keaton, Monica Bellucci. Okay. Well, that's one to look forward to, isn't it? Yeah. That's a hell of a gap, isn't it, between 1988 and 20? That's, 12, 34 years.
Not quite Top Gun standard. But
not quite, but getting there,
really,
isn't it?
But not quite. No.
Yeah. Okay, interesting choice, good choice. I haven't seen Beetlejuice since I think it came out, so maybe one to catch up on. Scott, what Tim Burton film did you pick?
Yeah, so I was close between two. I almost went for a particular superhero sequel that he did, but in the end, not to be one to go for the obvious pick, I have selected Big Fish.
In telling the story of my father's life, it's impossible to separate fact from the fiction, the man from the myth. The best I can do is to tell it the way he told me.
Oh.
So this is a film by Tim Burton which feels like it's almost not made by Tim Burton. It's a story where Albert Finney plays an old man who is recounting stories from his childhood or from his life to his son, played by Billy Crudup. But it's all about truths and half-truths, and you don't know how much of his life he's really telling. And we go into fantasy worlds where Ewan McGregor plays a younger version of him, and it's one of those films where, and it's possibly the only one really from Tim Burton that has an emotional core to it. There's a lot of romance in this film, and you do get the fantastical things like the circus with Danny DeVito, and you've got Helena Bonham Carter playing a witch. So there's some Tim Burton things in there. But what got me was just the nice romantic love story that's going through it, and this father and son, because it keeps going back and forth between what we see in real life and the fantasy stories that we're envisaging Albert Finney telling us. I've only seen it once, actually, but it made such an impact on me when I saw it that I really need to go back and watch it again, actually, because it's one that left me emotional, and I wasn't prepared for that when I was watching a series of Tim Burton films for another video that I was doing a couple of years ago. And yeah, I was just very impressed, and I think it's one that probably not many people know about, or definitely not one of his most seen ones, which is a crime.
I must admit, I've not seen Big Fish.
Okay.
Yeah. Okay, Andy, what did you pick?
Yeah. Well, I mean, for the sheer audacity, I picked Mars Attacks.
That's a Martian? That's gross. My God.
Yikes.
Who else could get together? Jack Nicholson, Glenn Close, Anita Bening, Pierce Bronson, Danny DeVito, Martin Short, Sarah Jessica Parker, Michael Fox, Rod Steiger, Tom Jones playing himself, Luke Hassas, Natalie Portman, Jim Brown, Lisa Marie, Silver Sidney, Paul Winfield, etc., etc., Jack Black being another one. I mean, who else could get that cast together and then produce something that is so outrageously stupid? And yet they're all having a whale of a time. I love the aliens in Mars Attacks. There's that great moment where Jack Nicholson, as the president of America, makes a great speech to the leader of the aliens. And he's saying, why can't we all get on? Why can't we all love each other? Why can't we all be friends? And the alien just goes, nah, and shoots him. And to me, it's an outstanding moment. Of course, the day is saved at the end by country and western music. Who would have thought that country and western music, instead Whitman, would save the world? It's an audacious film. It's a totally stupid film. It's a totally over-the-top film. But I absolutely love it, and I have fun every time I watch it. 1996, and I think Mars Attacks is just fun.
Yeah, it is a fun film. I agree. I mean, to be honest, this week I really struggled because I looked through Tim Burton's back catalogue, and it's not many of his films that I really warm to. I have to admit, I'm not a great fan of Tim Burton. The one I've picked goes back to a superhero origin film from 1989, which is actually coming up in a couple of weeks. There's a Batman Day happening, which Cineworld, I noticed, are showing Batman, The Dark Knight, and Joker over the same weekend. There may be other cinemas doing similar things. So I've gone for the original Batman film.
I have given a name to my pain.
What are you? I'm Batman.
Again, doesn't really feel to me like a Tim Burton film in particular. But again, I thought Michael Keaton, who of course reprised his role as Batman again in The Flash from a couple of weeks ago, I thought was great as Bruce Wayne. I think he was really believable as the kind of slightly cranky millionaire who turns into the superhero. Kim Basinger again as his romantic lead, but the guy who really steals the show, a bit like Alan Rickman did in Robin Hood, Prince of Thieves, is Jack Nicholson as the Joker, who gives an absolutely memorably over the top performance. And when some of the lines he comes out with, absolutely great. The one that I think is absolutely priceless is where he goes, "Never mess with another man's rhubarb," which is one of my favourite lines in movie history, I think. So it's gothic. It's got all the Tim Burton kind of gothicness that fits really well into that. It's quite exciting. It's got good performances in it. It's probably not the most exciting choice in terms of quality film that you guys have talked about, but I still can sit down and I can watch that original Batman film because I think it's a really well-made film. And I was listening to Scala Radio, which of course Mark Commode is on every Saturday at 1 p.m. with his film music show, and Scala Radio played this morning the Batman theme, Danny Elfman's theme. And I remember the first time I sat in the cinema and watched those opening titles to Danny Elfman's kind of building thematic music. And once again, the goosebumps went up on me and hairs went up on the back of my neck just listening to that music going back to that point. So that was kind of one of my most anticipated films of that year when I saw it at the cinema, and I wasn't disappointed.